Yes.
We took the middle ground, the middle part of the slide talking about when, using forms and things like that, except we kind of changed it up a little bit. In pharma, there's a big need for clinical trial patients. So pharmaceutical companies, clinical trial research organizations, and disease research organizations. There's just a huge need to find diverse patient populations, reaching out to underserved areas where there may not be a lot of hospitals, but there may be patients there. And it's also hard to find the patient with the right profile. They need to be vetted. They need to be the right type of patient. You can't just go in for a trial and be accepted. So we looked at the forms and we kind of iterated on that, and thinking the solution would be to create a power app that allows patients to self-select and volunteer for clinical trials. And it would go onto the back end of the CRM, so that data would flow to the organization and they could sort it and look for people, and there would be an email attached to it, so they could reach out to those people. And that could be a game changer for some of the customers, that they don't need to input things in spreadsheets and do sorts. They could just search. So obviously privacy rules are very important with patient information. The targeted fields can be in the drop down. So you're going to put in your name, your address, your email. We had some sample questions, for say pancreatic cancer. When were you diagnosed? Is it in your does it run in your family? Do you have any other additional comments? And then you could even branch it down with more specific questions, but we didn't really have time for that. So while we got like 75% of the way there, we started running into problems with the Power App stuff. So I'm going to stop sharing, and we're going to do a quick demo on the other side.
Yeah, we actually debated several options here. Doing a model-driven app seemed to be the most convenient approach here. But then one of the things that definitely was a requirement is the involvement of external users, and sometimes even anonymous users who will just leave a contact information, and that's it. So Power Apps portals became the best solution here. As basically we were mentioning before, we did have some issues there with the environment. It created a little bit of a funkiness there when we were trying to create the portal. But we were able to create a site basically that can be accessed by any user. And if the user is registered, in this case, just a user who is part of the demo tenant, I get to actually, depending on the permissions that I have, and this is the interesting thing, we're able to create directly in Dataverse some forms and some views, and we were able to identify to some extent how to apply permissions for users to get access to the table itself, or to the view, or to a form to actually register a new trial registration. And those were different personas that we explored. In this case, this is a user who can do everything. So the user can actually go to the trials section and register here real quick, basically with the information for in general for a specific trial. We worked with one case. That's one of the things we couldn't like create a branch in case we were using multiple trials. And we actually configured the CAPTCHA here to avoid some denial of service, or basically just people filling information that is not relevant through automation. And once we register, depending on the persona that is accessing the site, we can actually see all the registrations that have been incorporated. And if we continued working on this, we could do things like, for example, the registrations that I filled out, I can check the status for those registrations, etc. So the interesting thing of this is something that not many years ago would be a multi-layered application that accesses database that would require a data model that was basically something that could take days to weeks to actually develop, even as a proof of concept. And we had, well, some limitation here in time, but we're able to create something here that actually can be used by external or even anonymous users, that has even some admin options, that is working with role-based security, and that's something that we did in just effectively in just a couple of hours.